Hello, boys and girls. We're ready to read chapters 16 through 18 in The Terrible Two. Let's get started. What just happened? Miles was now sitting at the bottom step of the gazebo. Seriously? What just happened? Miles sat and wondered. Kids laughed, music played, and Miles just sat. Stuart still seemed to be chasing something. Miles sat. Cars pulled up, parents waved to kids, and kids got into cars. The cars drove away, leaving behind clouds of dust. Miles sat. The stragglers took the last of the food, hot dogs and brownies, but not cake. There was still plenty of cake. Miles sat. Holly and Niles came over and talked to Miles. Miles talked back. But when they left, Miles could not remember what they said. It was all just noise. Everybody else left the park, but Miles still sat. Somewhere in the distance, a cow mooed. Miles sat. The sun set, and the park lights blazed. The sprinklers came on, and Miles just sat. About an hour after dusk, Miles decided that was enough sitting. He stood up. You want to see how Miles was feeling? Miles felt like he had entered a new world. Now that a fake kid had become real, anything was possible. Maybe the gazebo would launch into space and Miles would colonize the Horsehead Nebula. Maybe lightning would strike that oak over there, crack it open, and gold coins would pour forth. Maybe a volcano would rise up from the field and lava would devour Yawny Valley. But the eruption's blast would also propel Miles safely back to his old apartment in a pink building that was close to the ocean, with maps on the walls and on the ceiling, back to his old town where he was a master prankster and everyone knew it. Miles waited a few seconds for something to happen. Nothing happened. And all that was left of Cody Burr Tyler's party was a field full of trash and a platter full of cakes. Miles grabbed a garbage bag. He ate a fingerful of frosting and then dumped the cake in the bag. He picked up paper plates and candy wrappers, soda bottles and cans, pizza crust and stray potato chips. Miles was supposed to leave the park with a wagons full of presents, but all he had was a big bag of trash. He didn't even have that wagon anymore. He'd had the wagon since he was 6. Despite what everybody said, Miles was starting to think Cody Burr Tyler wasn't that cool after all. Take away the football helmet and the electric guitar, and all you had was a wagon thief. The trash bag slung over his shoulder. Miles took one last look at the park. Underneath the picnic table was something he'd somehow missed. It was a present. Miles dropped the trash bag and ran for the table. He got on all fours. The wet grass soaked his knees. Miles crawled under the table and picked up the gift. He looked around for Cody Burr Tyler, who might at any moment pull up in his limo and claim this last present. But no, Miles was alone. There under the table, he held the present in his lap. It was the size of a shoebox, and its silver paper shimmered in the moonlight. Miles bit through the ribbon and ripped off the wrapping. It was a shoebox. The lid was taped on. Miles worked his index finger under the tape. He popped off the lid. Tissue paper. He peeled back the paper and peered inside. There, in the box, lying as lifeless as a real dead chicken, was a rubber chicken. This was apparently someone's idea of a joke. He grabbed the chicken by its legs, walked back to the trash, and tossed it in. The chicken landed belly up on top of some hot wings. There was a message written on the chicken's belly. Miles reached into the bag and pulled out the chicken. The words were written in big block letters. You can't trick a trickster. Meet me in Sherman's pasture. Sunday, sunset. Come alone. Who would give this to Cody Burr Tyler? Miles dropped the chicken and ran back to the table. He rummaged through the wrapping and pulled out a tiny gold gift tag. The words were written in delicate cursive. To Miles from Niles. Chapter 17. Sunday, sunset. Miles clutched the chicken in his right hand, his grip firm. He transferred it to the left hand. Both palms were sweaty, so was the chicken. Behind Miles was the sound of a breaking stick. Miles whipped around. It was Niles, except Niles didn't look like Niles. It was hard to say what was different about him. He wasn't wearing his sash, but it was more than that. It was more than his mussed hair, more than his steely expression, more than his tan jacket and navy blue turtleneck. Well, maybe it had something to do with the turtleneck. It was that Niles looked cool in the turtleneck, and Miles had never seen anything look cool in a turtleneck. And Miles had never seen Niles look cool at all, but he did today. He looked taller. He looked in control. "Why'd you bring that chicken?" asked Niles. Miles looked up at the chicken, then back up at Niles. I thought we might need it." "For what?" "Like maybe this meeting had something to do with the chicken," said Miles. "The chicken was just a way to deliver a message. A prankster often communicates with another prankster by writing a message on a rubber chicken." "Okay," said Miles. "Okay, so do you want the chicken back? Or should I just keep him or drop him somewhere? Or forget about the chicken," Niles said. Somewhere in a distance, a cow mooed. This meeting was getting away from Miles. "You ruined my birthday party prank," he shouted at Niles. "I saved your birthday party prank." "Saved it? Saved it?" Miles tried to laugh, but his mouth was dry and he could only cough. "That's insane. You stole all my presents, or Cody Bird Tyler stole my presents, or whomever that was." "Who was that?" "Some kid from Hillsdale. I paid $20 to impersonate Cody Bird Tyler. And he has my presents." "Nope, I have your presents, Miles. And you all call that saving, and you call that saving my prank? Your prank wasn't even a prank." "What?" "Let me ask you, Miles, how do you expect your prank to play out? I was just going to get up there and tell everybody I'd pranked them and get a bunch of presents. So you're just going to walk away with all those presents after you told the entire school you'd lied to them?" Miles thought for a moment. "Yes." "How was that going to work exactly?" I thought they'd be so stunned by the prank that they'd just watch me go." Niles stared at Miles. "All right, I see your point," Miles said, "but it still would have made my name. I would have pranked the entire school in one go. Everybody would have known Miles Murphy. Yeah, Miles Murphy, the liar and thief." "Well, when you put it that way, if you prank everyone, who is there left to appreciate the prank? Pranking everybody is like pranking nobody." "Huh?" said Miles. "You're forgetting one of the basic rules of pranking," Niles said. "The goat has to deserve it." "The goat?" Miles rolled his eyes. "Do your research, Miles. A goat is what pranksters call their victims. And to be the goat, someone had to have it coming. Everyone loves to see a goat get pranked. That's why Principal Barkin is a great goat. He always has it coming. Plus, he turns purple. So you were the one who put Barkin's car at the top of the steps." Niles stared at Miles again. "Who are you to lecture me about pranking?" Miles asked. "I was the best prankster at my old school. I was a legend." "You were a yak." "What?" Miles sighed. "A yak. A yak is someone who's always bragging about his pranks. A prankster doesn't prank for the fame. A prankster pranks for the prank." Miles tightened his grip around the rubber chicken's neck. "Listen," Miles said Niles. "When people know you're a prankster, they're all watching you. Kids are waiting to see what you do next. Principals are tailing you down the hall. To a real prankster, that's death. The best pranks require a lot of work. They require preparation. To pull truly great pranks, you need to be invisible. The best pranks leave everyone wondering." Niles had a point. If Miles was being honest, his classic Operation Sandy Shorts would have been much better prank if his homeroom teacher hadn't caught him immediately. And the stuff about the goats made sense too. By the time Miles left his old town, Carl and Ben, his closest friends and near constant pranking victims, weren't really taking his calls anymore. But it's so fun to take credit for your pranks," Miles said. Niles smiled. "I agree. That's why I sent you the chicken. That's why you're here today. I have a proposal." Miles waited. "I'm proposing," said Niles, "that we team up, we become a pranking duo, co-conspirators, a secret society founded on mutual admiration and the joy of pranking. I even have a name picked out. We call ourselves the Terrible Two." Chapter 18. "No thanks," said Miles. "What?" said Niles. It was the first time he'd looked uncertain today. "I don't want to join your dumb society." "But it'd be good for you, Miles. I could teach you to avoid suspicion. And you Could teach me? You think you could teach me? Miles's face was feeling hot. I don't need you to teach me anything. I'm a pranking legend. Oh, I didn't mean to offend you, Niles said. I agree. You have real potential. Potential? Potential? Miles was shouting now, but he didn't know it. I have executed pranks you would never dream of. Ever hear of Situation Cold Oatmeal? The great bifocal caper? You're such a pranking expert. Did you, in your research, ever come across a little prank called Pile of Potato Bugs? I haven't heard of any of those pranks, Niles said. Then maybe you're the one who could learn from me because I invented them. Okay, Niles said, holding out his hands. Miles, I didn't mean to imply that. You think I need you? I think we can help each other. Ha ha, Miles said. He actually said, ha ha. Miles just stared. So Miles continued, well, I'll say it again. No thanks. No thanks now and no thanks forever. I'm not going to be the second banana on your little prank team. In fact, Miles drew in a big breath. I declare a prank war. Miles, I don't want, you're scared. You're scared. The pranking expert is scared. I'm not taking it back. It's war. It's a prank war. Miles, I seriously think you should seriously think about what you're saying. No, Niles, why don't you go seriously think? Go home and start thinking. Start planning real seriously. You're going to need every brain cell you own because you can think and think and think, but I'll always be right behind you, one step ahead of you. All right, then. That's what you want? I'm sorry I'm sorry too, Niles. I'm sorry about your little meeting didn't go as planned. You probably thought I was going to come here tonight and sign right up to be your stooge, but that's not it, Niles Sparks. You don't know me. You don't know what's going on up here. Miles tapped his head with the chicken's beak, and that's why you will never win this prank war. Suit yourself, Miles said. The prank war is on. Miles Murphy watched as Niles walked away. He watched it as in the purple evening, Niles became a Niles-shaped silhouette among cow-shaped silhouettes. He watched so intently that he didn't notice Josh Barkin coming up behind him until he was already in a headlock. I knew you were here, Nimbus, Josh said. How? Was all Miles could get out through his windpipe. That little Nimbus, Niles Sparks, told me. He sold you out. He called me last night and said he'd tell me where you'd be if I agreed not to beat him up for lying about the lunch tray. Miles would have sighed if he could have. Even your buddy isn't your friend, Josh said. Then he punched Miles in the gut. Miles dropped the chicken. That's it for chapter 18.